Okay, all right. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having
All
me.
right, good evening, everyone. Um, my name is Olaronke Badebo, and I have with me this evening, um, Lois Omorayewa. Lois Omorayewa is a 23-year-old British Nigerian. She has been living in England for about 10 years, but she's a Nigerian to the core. She's a full-time IT project manager. She's an author. She runs a charity organization called Bring It Home Foundation, and she hosts a mental health podcast called Victoriology. Am I right?
Yeah.
All right. It's good to have you here. Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank you
having
for
me.
honoring the invitation.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So I'm curious to know, what is the concept behind Victoriology? What brought
Okay.
about that?
So, do you want to know how the podcast started, or do you mean the name? Because I know people have asked about the name.
Maybe everything that surrounds it. Yeah.
Okay. Um. Okay. Let me try and do a quick introduction. So
Okay.
my name is Lois, and I recently founded, was nearly a year now, the Bring It Home Foundation. I wrote my first book, The Journey to Coventry, and also started my mental health podcast, Victoriology by BIH. So to answer your question, Victoriology for me comes from the fact that, like you said, I survived anxiety. So for me, my assignment with the podcast was to sort of share my story to help other people. That's where Victoriology comes from, in the sense that we're victorious, like just having that mentality that irrespective of what we go through or what we might go through, well, we always have the ability to pull through. So that's the concept of Victoriology. So using my experience.
So you like to share with us what actually happened?
Yeah, sure. So it was a bit of a weird one because it started in October 2018. I had just been 3 weeks into my master's degree, and I just fell ill briefly of a stomach bug. And before that, I hadn't actually been ill for about 8 years, hadn't visited the GP hospital or anything like that. But from that brief period of illness, it became one thing and another, and then it became my first panic attack that then led to the fear of having another panic attack, and the whole cycle just started, and it went on for like 2 years, and it was a terrible 2 years, if I'm being honest. But thank God, I'm here today, I'm better, everything is all over. So I just feel like God has placed on my heart to really share my journey to help other people, especially in the Black community where the awareness is not really there, and we don't have a lot of mental health resources in the Black community. And I feel like that's starting from the fact that people are not as aware of it. I mean, people are starting to talk about it more, thankfully, now, and people are starting to do more things about it. But I just feel like because of the stigma, there's still a lot more that can be done. And that's where I actually got my name, the Bring It Home Foundation, because in as much as I'm open to helping people worldwide, my first priority is Africa. I'm starting with Nigeria, where I'm from. So that's sort of where the Bring It Home comes from.
So share with us what exactly happened. Was it that something happened that triggered what you experienced, or was it an isolated occurrence?
So it was, like I said, I was usually healthy. So it started with having a stomach bug, and a stomach bug was basically when like you're just feeling sick. I lost my appetite, and it was just really weird. And because I was just like 3 weeks into starting my masters, I hadn't really made friends, so I was somewhat alone, like having to look after myself alone, taking myself to the hospital, like. And I hadn't been to the hospital in 8 years, so I had to first register because that's the way the system is in England. And it was just a long process. And then one day, I had a panic attack from just getting out of the lift. And then I got scared of going into the lift. And then that just started a cycle of being scared of having a panic attack. And in general, to summarize it, is I was scared of being outside because every like panic attack I had was sort of outside. So it was a case of I was scared of being outside, and the panic attacks just had random triggers where, okay, today it could be food for a period of time, then it would be like being scared of going outside, or it could be like public transport. It was just like a whole weird circle for like 2 years, and it was mostly panic attacks and being scared of having another panic attack, which obviously kept me from eating, kept me from having a normal life, because I was having like most physical symptoms that you can think about of someone who is actually physically ill, but I wasn't physically ill based on all the blood tests I did.
So what you're trying to say is that you started having physical symptoms, but the doctor couldn't link it with any physiological condition.
Yeah, exactly.
And it stemmed from the fact that you were having a panic attack. So how did that affect you emotionally?
Oh, it was a lot for me. It was a lot, because this is me, that I went from someone who, like when it first started, it was a huge issue on me, because I wasn't registered to a GP, and I just gotten into a new city, Coventry, where I was doing my master's. So obviously when the situation happened, I needed an emergency, but because I wasn't registered to a GP, I had to go to accident and emergency, and I stayed there for hours. Then they had to transfer me to another hospital that I had to take myself. So for me, it was a lot of emotions, and it was a lot of me questioning myself if I made the right decision of doing my master's, because me deciding to pursue my master's was I was 2 minds about it, because I was like, do I just go straight to look for a job, or do I do the master's? And I wanted to do the master's because it was actually a master's in project management. So my first degree was actually computer science and business management, but I wanted to go into project management. So obviously when I went to do that master's to help with that, and then the whole anxiety started within 3 weeks. I hadn't even really like started proper lectures, so that was like, have I made the right decision? What is going on? So it was a lot of emotional roller coaster, really.
Okay, I just want you to be able to explain a little bit further.
Okay.
Panic attack, anxiety. It's not something that, let me say, within the Black community, something we're very familiar with. It's like something a bit strange. Yes, we know that once in a while we all get anxious about things, and then we snap out of it. So I just wanted to explain what is the difference between the regular, or maybe the normal anxious feelings that we experience. What's the difference between that and what you actually went through?
Okay, so I explain. So like you said, for example, I feel like even with the word anxiety and anxious, like a lot of people use it without knowing the meaning. So I give you an example now. I could say, oh my God, I was anxious to come on this session. Obviously I wasn't, but like anxious, like the way people talk about it on a day-to-day level is more like, feeling nervous, or oh my God, like maybe you're about to do something unusual or something like that. But with me, anxiety and panic attack was full blown. And obviously people have different levels of panic attacks, in the sense that panic attack could be different for everyone. But with me, when I was having like a typical panic attack, like I would just start feeling like a sensation from my leg, and then I would start like shaking. My heart will be pounding. I'll feel really sick to my stomach, and I'll literally like be gasping for air. So for me, it was quite intense. Well, obviously not everybody goes through that. It's different for people. There's some people that I've heard maybe they cry, or maybe they just need to distract themselves, or maybe some people just have pounding heartbeat. But with me, it's like I had a full blown like symptom. Like it just felt like I was gonna come out my skin, or like it was just unexplainable, really.
And how long did this go for?
So it was on and off. So I had so when it started in October, I only had one panic attack in October 2018, and then throughout the year it just was like on and off, because the thing about me is I would make sure that I avoided situations that would cause a panic attack, especially being outside, which wasn't really good, because that just prolonged the anxiety. But I think the last panic attack I had was in January 2019. So I haven't had a panic attack for a year now.
Okay, all right. So tell us, can you share with us the effect it had on you? Yeah, I know you mentioned the physical symptoms.
Yeah.
You talked about the emotional roller coaster experience, but how does it link up to mental health?
Mm-hmm. So do you mean like in the sense of like my mind, like how I was thinking?
Exactly.
For me, it was like an all-round battle. We've already covered physically, we've already covered emotionally. It affected me mentally, affected me spiritually, it affected me in every area. Mentally, it was like a struggle because when the anxiety hit its peak was around, so sorry, all the time I've been saying the anxiety started October 2017, not 2018. It started 2017 and then it relaxed a bit round about May 2018. I thought it was over. And then he came back in October 2018 and he was stronger. And how he really, really affected me mentally at that point was like, okay, I went through my master's and it was a struggle. You know, I tried to push myself to get through the master's. I remember even up until my master's graduation, I couldn't attend because I wasn't feeling well because of the anxiety, not because I had any physical illness. So this then came again when I started my new job. And for me, this was like a horrible feeling because it was like, how long is this going to go on for? And it started 3 weeks into my new job. Bearing in mind, I was on probation. So I'm like, okay, what is going on? How long is this going to go on for? And I remember the major panic attack I had on my way from work back home. I was thinking to myself, like, so even if I get better, would I still be able to go to work? Because with anxiety and panic attacks, like you tend to remember where you had a panic attack and what happened. Yeah. So for me, it was like, even if I get better, will I be able to go to work again, going down the same routes? I was like, even if I don't go through that job and I go to another job, I make it to another job, how will I be able to attend interviews? Because I was literally scared of going outside because I didn't want to have a panic attack. So it was like literally trying to fight negative thoughts and keep going. And I think that was a lot mentally. Like some days I just would want to give up. Some days like I would just cry. I would just like, it was a mix of emotions. Some days I felt stronger than normal. Other days it was like I was just tired of being tired. There were times where like I was never suicidal, but there were times where like it was better to die, in the sense that it was like I was a living dead. Like at my age, at 22, I was just in bed all day, like not being able to function, not being able to do anything. So that in the mental sense was a lot for me.
Okay, all right. So how did you now navigate your path out of it?
So
at what point did you start getting strength to say, I think I can walk through this. I think I can overcome this.
Yeah. So for me, like I said, it started in October 2017. And so throughout this, I tried to just, I didn't accept it. Like it was only after I accepted that I realized that I hadn't accepted it. So when I really accepted it was when it happened, when I started my job. And I was like, okay, this cannot go on. So at that point, I told my parents, like they had an idea of what was going on, but I feel like I didn't let them understand what was going on properly. Like I didn't let them understand how it was affecting me prior to that. And then I started to do counseling, because for me, I feel like the first way to seek a solution to a problem, whether it's mental health or not mental health, is to actually accept that there is an issue, there's something actually going on, which I think I prolonged for about a year. So, and I know, especially in the Black community, when you start to say acceptance, it might be natural to nearly have like a acceptance to like a defeat mindset, but it's actually acceptance to like do something about it. So we're not surrendering to the situation, we're actually accepting like, okay, this is going on, then what do we need to do to get out of the situation? So I did counseling from round about end of October, early November 2018 to mid 2019 May. And like it was just walking through like gradually, like I had to be patient. That wasn't always easy because there were times where I just wanting to be out of the situation. And obviously I didn't know when it was going to end, so I couldn't put a timeline to it. I had to be resilient. Like it's a lot of hard work. Like that's why we need to make mental health as known as possible, but you also need to have the desire to want to make that change, because unfortunately, like even people around me may want to see me get better, but if I don't feel like I want to get better and I want to put in the work, then there's just no way I'm gonna get a result. So it was just like taking baby steps and doing it gradually. And yeah.
Okay, two things you mentioned actually.
Yeah.
The first one, you said acceptance.
Yeah.
Not that you are surrendering to the situation,
Yeah.
but you actually are admitting that you
Yeah.
have a situation on ground and you need to do something about it.
Yeah.
Now, if we bring it down to our culture, to the Black community, now with particular reference to Nigeria, why do you think it's difficult for us to come to that place of acceptance from your own experience and then observation?
I feel like, and I've heard this a lot, I feel like naturally, especially Nigerians, we tend to associate mental health with madness. That, just calling it what it is, we tend to associate it with something like negative, like you're psycho or something like that. And what we don't realize is the way the way
something like this.
the way everyone's got a physical health is the way everyone's got mental health. So everyone has a mental health, but not everyone's got a mental health issue. So we need to start coming to the realization, because with physical health, like most times you wouldn't really wait until you're ill to look after yourself, to give yourself food, you know, to like do things for your physical health. So it's like, what is the problem when it comes to mental health? I think we need to start picturing that a good health is a balance of a good physical health and a good mental health. And if you look at my situation, I had all the physical symptoms, but there was no diagnosis of, oh, she had malaria or something like that. So that just shows you that everything is connected. So I feel like, because I don't know if it's something to do with the way we're brought up, or I just don't know, like we just, you know, we, especially Nigerians, we tend to be very strong. We want to show that we're okay, we can deal with situations ourselves. So the thing of acceptance can sometimes come across as weakness, and it's really not. And like, one thing with mental health, you need to understand that it's okay to not be okay at every point in time. It's life just comes with challenges. Like, you're not in competition with anybody, and you need to realize that if you start thinking, another thing is, a lot of us tend to think about what people think, and I think that's the biggest, if not the most horrible killer. Because you need to think about it. In my situation, for example, I was like in all this horrible not being able to go to work, not being able to eat, not being able to do anything. But if I just stayed there thinking, oh, what would people say? But I'm the one in the situation. I knew family, I knew friends that were able to wake up every day and go about their normal life. I will wake up, my day starts in bed, ends in bed. I don't do nothing. So like, I think it's also that that mindset of, oh, what would people say? Oh, this and that. But you need to understand that you need to look after you, not what will people say. You need to look after your well-being, both physical and mental. Because God forbid, if people have cancer, and I keep using this example, would put them on social media and say, I'll pray for this person, we'll open a GoFundMe page. But why is this so different with mental health? Do you see what I mean? Because like, if you have like a terminal illness, you wouldn't just stay in bed and like, what would people say? You would seek help. I'm not saying if you've got mental health challenge, go and tell everybody if you don't feel comfortable, but like, just do something about it, like seek help by all means possible.
Yeah, I like what he said about the fact that when you tell somebody you are on medication for high blood pressure, nobody raises their eyebrow. No, when you say, oh, I'm going to the hospital, the doctor said I have high cholesterol level, we just take it in our stride. But immediately you mention anything that has to do with mental health, it's like, oh, exactly. It is a no-go area, you know? Yeah. So the first thing you said is acceptance. And I think the second thing you mentioned is about seeking help, going for counseling. Now, I need to, if you can just clarify, I know that you're a Christian.
Mhm.
You believe God's word. You
Yeah.
believe that Jesus has paid the price for your healing. So in Christ Jesus, you have all the healing that you need,
Yeah.
spirit, soul, and body. How were you able to marry that with going for counseling for mental challenge?
Yeah. So that's a very good question, and I think that's one question that I get a lot. And the first thing I'll say is, with mental health, before answering the question, we need to not downplay it. I feel like a lot of people downplay it. So, like, and most of the people that downplay it maybe don't have a mental health challenge, and so they don't understand it. So you can't really blame them. One of my support system that really helps me, she's a doctor and she's actually a pastor's wife. And the pastor's actually a doctor. And I'll never forget, she said something to me. She was like, yes, it's good to pray and stuff, but if you want to be, sort of sentimental in, like, when it comes to seeking help, you could also say that God gave these people wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to be able to create all this availability for us to help us. Do you see what I mean? Like, when you get blood, God forbid, if you have blood pressure or something like that, you would pray and whatnot. But if you feel like you need to seek help, you would seek help. Like, there's nothing wrong with praying, and I prayed a lot, but it got to the stage where I needed help. So it's now me going to seek help and now changing my prayer to the sort of, God, please use this to sort of work for me. Let this make a difference, because it was actually expensive as well. Counseling is expensive. So it's like, God, please, heal me. Please don't let this be a waste of my money and my time. So I don't think like there's anything wrong with seeking help. Like, even with COVID, for example, now, God forbid, if someone's got COVID and you need to do a test, you're not going to say, oh, if you're having bad symptoms and you need to get tested for your own benefit, you're not just going to not accept it. My prayer life was, if anything, it even really changed a lot, in the sense that at the beginning I was struggling, like, to be consistent, because it's like, God, I really want to pray, Lord, I really want to draw strength from you, but I'm so tired, like, I'm so tired of it. And over time, like, now I can confidently say that my prayer life is better than it has ever been, like my spiritual life. But if I hadn't like sought help, I don't even know that I would have been in this situation I am today. I don't know that I would have written my book. I don't know that I would have started the Bring It Home Foundation. So I feel like God is not against us seeking help. Obviously, it has to be the right kind of help. Say, for example, if I was relying on maybe alcohol or like drugs to suppress the feelings, then that is a different story. But with professional help of people in their field, there's nothing wrong with that. My counselor was actually a Christian. She would pray for me, like, before we end every session. She would send me like inspirational music and things like that. So do you see what I mean? Like, you just need to make sure that you're seeking the right help. And obviously different help works for some people, it may not work for everyone. I know people that may have tried counseling that it didn't work for them, but for me it worked for me. And if it didn't work for me, maybe I would have looked for, okay, what else can I do?
Okay. So after two things we've mentioned now, the first step is acceptance.
Yeah.
The second one is seeking help if there is a need to. There's nothing wrong in asking. I'm a believer in seeking help. And I believe that if you have a situation in a particular area, especially mental health, and you feel you're getting to the point where you cannot cope, seek for help. God can use anyone to bring forth healing. What you want is to be healed. What you want is to be able to enjoy health in all areas of life. Apart from counseling, what other things did you do as an individual to help you to come back to how you are today?
Okay, so there's a few things. So I had coping mechanisms of a few family members and friends that I would confide in. I would let them know how I was feeling, like they would check up on me and stuff like that. And I think that is very important, because as human beings, we're built to be social beings. We're built to want to be loved and love. So it was really nice having people around me that, I knew that even though I was the one going through the situations, I knew that these people were praying for me. They were with me. They were there to give me the support and love I needed. I also tried medication, and I also tried a few things like self-affirmation, which I actually did an Instagram live session on yesterday. So with self-affirmation, it was just me basically telling myself that I was going to be okay, I was going to be fine, even when it didn't look like it. And also a form of entertainment. So I try to not just wallow in self-pity and be sad all day. So I still worked from home. I didn't have to work from home, but I wanted to work from home, so I'm not just there all day thinking about things. Obviously, it wasn't as effective because I was weak, but I would work from home and I'll watch movies, I'll like do online shopping. And there were times where I even exercised my faith, where I was buying like some clothes and they're like, this is not even going to fit you, but I'm like, it's going to fit me eventually because I'm going to grow into it. And I did a lot of breathing exercises. Like, so when people just tell you, oh, calm down, breathe in and breathe out, we underestimate it, but it actually does a lot. So like whenever I'm feeling like a little bit out of control, I just close my eyes and like breathe in and out like for a few minutes. That took a lot of practice. I also practiced mindfulness and meditation, because a lot of anxiety problems are like, oh my God, we're thinking about the past, and then, oh my God, what's going to happen in the future? So my counselor taught me to just be in the now. Like sometimes it can sound funny, because I remember one time she was like, when you're like your way to work or something, like just look at outside. So like to practice initially, I'll be like, okay, this is a red car, that is that woman, like just being like, making sure my mind is not drifting from future to past. What else did I do? So yeah, that was like that. And I was also researching mental health a lot, which also helps my foundation and stuff. And I didn't even know I was going to have a foundation then, but it was just like I was struggling to understand it, and I was the one going through it. So which is why I don't totally blame people when they don't really understand it, because for me, like, I just didn't understand how a mental condition would just make me physically like ill and physically like unable to do anything. So it was just a lot, like some days better than none. It was baby steps. It was just really learning to be patient, because I remember with me, sometimes of making progress and something small happens, I get really frustrated, because I'm like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm going backwards. But my counselor was like, you need to be patient, and there was no better time to learn patience.
Okay. Another thing I want to know, apart from few things you said, you mentioned support system.
Yeah.
Was it just support system from family, or is it from friends, from church, from colleagues? How were you able to gather your support system? Was it limited to just your family, or were other people involved?
So it was family and friends, and in family it was literally just my mom, my brother, and my dad. And like the reason why I keep coping support system small is just because, like, when you're going through something, a difficult situation, especially mental health, many people have different opinions. And like when you already feel like you're in a state of confusion, you don't really want too many varying opinions to be even more confused. So I'm not saying only relate to a few family members and friends, but when I feel like I'm literally tired, I've had enough, I can't do this, and I need to cry to someone, I just need to talk to someone and just let the burden out, there's just a few selected people. So my counselor was one of them, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my family friend doctor, that I told you about, that the pastor's wife, they were one of them, my best friend. It was just like very few people, because so that way they can keep me accountable, they can like with food, someone who was coming to make me food timetable. So it was just like having those people that, I'm not talking to that person today, that person tomorrow. Like I just have a group of support system that I can always draw from.
Okay, and that helped with your
100%.
journey.
Yeah, and that the way it helps is in the way that even if now I'm not going through mental health situation, but I feel like if I was going through something, wanted advice or job or whatever, I can still draw from these people.
Okay. Now, when you said affirmation, what were the affirmation? Can you just, explain further what the content in terms of, when you are affirming something? I know that you are a believer, and you believe God's word. So the content of the affirmation, what were they centered on?
Yeah, cool. So like you said, I'm a believer. So what I used to do firstly, I used to anoint myself every morning before I leave the house and every night before I go to bed. I don't do it as much anymore, and I probably should. And I used to always like, basically when I pray and stuff, or even before I go out, I'm like, it is well with my spirit, my soul, my mind, and my body. I'm totally healed and restored physically, mentally, emotionally, and otherwise. Like, I just say loads of things like, I'm going to have a good day. I'm not going to have a panic attack. And even if I have a panic attack, tomorrow I will still say it again. And if I feel like I'm doubting, I'll be like, don't worry. Yes, yesterday happened, but we got through it. So it's just like, you don't have to plan it. You just have to get like used to it, and like you like with more practice becomes you get used to it. And also, even in my room now, I have a frame of Proverbs 31, 21 that says she's enclosed with strength and dignity. She laughs without fear for the future. So that was like my wallpaper on my phone. So I would look at that every day and like just like let it really sink in until I actually started to believe it, that, you know what, no matter what's going on now, it's going to be fine. And I feel like it worked, because then I genuinely didn't know when it was going to get better, but it's gotten better.
Okay. I also like to know what role, apart from medication, the support system, the affirmation, the exercises, in terms of recovery period, how were you able to build internal strength to keep going on? Because earlier on you said sometimes you have some days that you were good and some other days they were not good. How were you able to keep that momentum up to say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to keep going until I get better, I'm not going to give up?
So it was hard, I'm not going to lie to you. I remember the first day that I actually wanted to go back to work it was the 1st of April 2019. It was really hard because like I was fine, but it was just like, I'm about to go outside again. I'm about to go on public transport again. I'm about to walk down that same route that would cause me a panic attack. But with me, it was just like, I've gotten this far, things has gotten better. So I was just like, fingers crossed, it can only get better. So it was like, with me, I was already determined that, you know what, no matter what, I need to come out of this. Because for me, I'm usually like an active person. Like I was usually like a busy person, because there was work and there was like other personal stuff. So if me being confined to bed was just not it. Like I was frustrated, and I think I was like itching to go outside and be normal again. So it was just like, just holding on to that and just being like really resilient, that we have to fight this. Like, we've come a long way and we really want this to go, so we're not going to stop now. So even when it's like scary, like I remember being outside and I was like on FaceTime to my mom, like, okay, I'm actually going to work now. And it's like, I go outside as if I was waiting for something to happen. Like, is there going to be a panic attack? And there was nothing. And, gradually I just got to the point where now I even drive. So it's just like baby steps, like, again, being patient, being resilient, and like just trusting in the process. Even if you have some days where, oh, maybe something happened and it's not quite as you didn't go as planned or as much as you would like it. It's just like making sure you don't dwell on the past. Because initially, whenever I had like a bad day or I'd made a step forward and taking a step backwards, like I tend to like get really scared and worried that, oh my God, are we going back again? But it's just like trying to not get distracted by the little, hiccups on the way.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. I think it went on for a few minutes. Now let's bring it down to young people. What will you say? Like for some months now, it's been a global lockdown.
Yeah.
Something that a lot of us were not prepared for. And people have different thresholds on how they can handle situations like this. I mean, a lot of people in school, young people in school, some were preparing for GCSE, some preparing for their graduation, some A levels, some about to start a job. So a lot of changes around. What will you say to young people out there the things they need to put in place to be able to manage their mental health.
Sure. Again, this is where coping mechanisms of family and friends probably comes the strongest, because sometimes it's easier to tell people you're not alone, we're in this together, but this, we're literally all in it together. So I guess it's just like drawing strength from your family and friends, and I think also maintaining a positive mindset and trying to see the positive side of it. It's harder on some people than others, but if you think about it logically, everybody has time to do what they really need to do. So if you want to improve yourself, if you want to learn a skill, like for me, for example, I'm currently learning Spanish. And if the lockdown hadn't happened at all, I don't think I'll be learning Spanish, because I just wouldn't have the time. I mean, I'm still working from home and I'm very busy, but it's just trying to get the positivity out of it. So it gets really boring for me. I've been home for 10 weeks now. I'm fed up of it, but I can't just let the fact that I'm fed up of it start to affect me, because that's not going to ease the lockdown off any easier. So it's like, be patient on yourself, be kind to yourself. If you have a burden, talk to someone you trust, your family, your friends. Do things to help you, like to help your mental health. If it means learning a skill, trying a new recipe and things like that. And something that I also normally do that I haven't done in the last week or so, I go for a walk or run. So I could either go before work in the morning or after work, preferably where like I've had a long day, and just to clear my mind, I'm just listening to music and I'm just enjoying a nice weather. So it's just like not dwelling on it. It gets really boring and it's hard, and I understand, but you just need to look at the positive out of it, because you can't change the pandemic at the moment. So if you can't do anything about it, why stress? So it's not going to always be easy. You have some days where you feel like, oh yeah, you can push, you had a productive day, and maybe other days it's just one of those days, and that's okay. Like with me, from tomorrow now, I'm taking a few days off work because I'm just genuinely tired and I just feel like I need to rest. So it's just like drawing the balance.
Okay. I think I listened to one of your podcasts, and you mentioned something about self-love.
Yeah.
And I think it's still related to what you're saying, the need for individuals to look after themselves. And what I want you to explain is, when you talk about self-love, how do you balance that with being self-centered?
Oh my God, I got asked this question yesterday. Right, okay. So the first thing I want to say is that when it comes to self-love and like selfishness or being self-centered, it makes sense why like people misunderstand it, but they're actually not the same thing. So with self-love, I'm talking about me, my well-being, what is good for me. I'm not talking about other people now, because with being self-centered is like more like you're in a situation with other people, but you're trying to see how that situation can benefit you the most. Or being selfish, like you just think like you're better than other people. It's just all about you. But with self-love, it's actually like looking after myself even when it's not nice. So say for example, if I need to cut off a friendship that I feel like is draining me, is stressing me, that is self-love. But that's not necessarily like, it's not like a positive situation, because maybe you're used to someone but you have to cut out from them. But that is me looking after myself, but it's not a positive situation. So I feel like sometimes that there is that misconception between what is self-love and self-centeredness and selfishness. With self-love, it's like I'm thinking about me, I'm being in my own lane, I'm not comparing myself with other people, I'm not like being envious or whatever. I'm looking at, okay, how can I look after me physically, mentally, emotionally, and how can I be the best person that I can be? And knowing that self-development never ends as long as you're alive. So just constantly looking out for how I can improve myself, how I can be a better person and the kind of person that I aim to be. So that could be like, for example, picking up a course, that could be cutting up some friendship or relationship. So it's just, for me, it's different from self-centeredness or being selfish and just thinking about you and thinking like you're better than people. I think yesterday one of the questions I had was, how do you draw the line between I think it was self-affirmation or self-love and not coming across the self of as, you know, being like having a lot of ego. If I'm affirming myself that I'm gonna have a good day every day, that's never gonna be too much. If I'm affirming myself that I can achieve my dreams, that's never gonna be too much. That's not me in competition with anybody. That's not me like downplaying other people or thinking I'm better than any other person. That's just me focusing on my life, my journey. So do you see what I mean? So it's not, you can never affirm yourself too much. It's just like saying, when do you start praying too much? You can't pray too much. Do you see what I mean? So it's that kind of like just really understanding what self-love is.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm losing you there a bit.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you now. All right. So let's talk about your book. I think you showed it earlier on. You want to tell us a little bit about your book?
Yes. So the book is The Journey to Coventry, and it's basically a documentation of my 2 years journey with anxiety. So most times it's actually hard for me to summarize my story because it was a lot. And so like the book literally has everything, and the book is such a blessing to me in the sense that my natural talent is writing, but I didn't actually like take a step forward to develop it until the book. So that also really brought out the talent in me. And also it was like me really accepting to do what I think I've been called to do, to really like spread the word about mental health and really share my story. Because like this book is so transparent in the sense that I'm normally like a reserved person. So if you didn't know me, or if you didn't know that I had a foundation and all of that, you wouldn't know my story. Not because I'm hiding it, but I'm just very quiet even on social media normally. So but with me it was like, if I accepted the urge, like the whatever, to write the book, I had to be like 100% transparent and say how it was. So that was a lot, obviously, because for me it was like, oh, I'm telling the world my story, and you know, I don't know where it's gonna get. This is me just literally being vulnerable, but I'm glad I did it because the testimonies I've heard from it, and it's just so funny, like even people around me that are going through stuff that I didn't even know, that through this book conversations happened and things started to come out. So I'm thankful really. So yeah.
Okay. Now, what about your Bring It On Foundation?
Yeah.
You'd like to tell us a little bit about it, what
Yeah.
it's involved?
Yeah, so the Bring It Home Foundation is currently like my baby, like my passion. So the whole point of it is to really spread the word about mental health, in starting from Africa, starting from Nigeria. So what I intend on doing is doing like conferences in school. So with me, like I feel like everybody needs to get told about mental health. So I don't want to just have a conference. I don't want to just go to school. So I want to go to schools and tell students about mental health, especially like in secondary school when like you're really developing and you're having like a mind of your own, and like, you know, and I also want to have conferences for parents so that they can understand. I believe like it's not enough for people to just know about seeking help and all of that, but it's also nice to inform people who are looking after people that have mental health challenges so they can really understand. So I really want to start doing work on that, starting from Nigeria. I wanted to come to Nigeria this year, but unfortunately with the whole COVID situation, I don't think that is going to be possible again. But hopefully everything will be back to normal from next year, and I can really start doing what I really want to do, because I really want to spread the word about mental health, and you know, let people know my story, let people know how to handle it, let people know that it's not bad. Everybody goes through challenges in life. Yours might just not be mental health, but if it's mental health, then you can do something about it. And also a lot of the coping mechanisms for me, it can be used in non-mental health related situations. So for example, even things like affirmations, you can use it for yourself in COVID. You can use it if you're going through something, or if you know someone is going through something. I just feel like, you know, when there's life, there's literally hope. Like that's just not a saying. That's something that is actually, you can make it a reality.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right. Okay, you can go on.
Yeah, like I've said the point. I've said our point. Did you miss anything?
Yeah, I'm not too sure whether I didn't miss that.
Can you hear me? Because I can hear you perfectly.
Yes, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you said something earlier that I think I would like to take you on.
Mm-hmm.
You said that about parents, you know, need to learn how to be able to help, young people to
Yeah.
handle mental challenge. So, what will you say if there is a parent that is watching this? What would you like to say to them?
So what I would like to say is when it comes to mental health, you need to be very patient, even as someone looking after someone that has a challenge. You need to understand that what your reality might be might not be the reality. So I feel like a big challenge with people looking after other people that have mental health issues is not trying to understand things from their own perspective. So you need to understand that what you feel like is making sense to you might not be making sense to them. So I gave this example yesterday. So, for example, if someone wasn't going through something that they felt they couldn't deal with, why would they want to commit suicide? Do you see what I mean? Like, if things were just normal and everything, you just wouldn't want to just randomly, like, just die, like, want to die. But you need to understand that that person must be going through something and understand what is going on. I feel like, especially in Africa, when it comes to the spirituality, we tend to overdo it, if I may say. Things like, oh, where's your faith, or the violent take it by force and all of this. But we need to understand that sometimes when it comes to mental health, the people in the situation don't really know what is going on. They don't really know how to come out of the situation, even if they really wanted to. But just knowing that someone's got, like, you have people who love you and support you and will be there for you, makes a lot of difference. Like, even me, when I was going through the situation that I didn't really understand and everything. Even when I had like bad days, when I was speaking to my family and friends, like, I would still laugh. I would still, I would still be able to feel a little bit like, just feel like a human being, just because I have people that love me and support me and are by me. So I think that is really important, especially as a parent, because you want your child to know that even if you don't really understand what you're going through, that's okay, but you're here for them no matter what. But the last thing you want to really be doing is telling a child off when they're going through something. By all means, encourage them to challenge themselves, to like maybe how do I say it, maybe like, say for example, if they feel like they can't do something, like affirm them, like challenge them, like, no, you can do it, maybe you need more practice or something like that, rather than like, you should be able to do it, da 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 da. Like, do you see what I mean? Because tone and approach actually makes a lot of difference when it comes to mental health. Because if a child is going through something and they come to you and they feel like you've made them feel really horrible, and next time they're not going to come to you, and then they'll deal with it by themselves. And God forbid, that's how people start having suicidal thoughts, or start mixing around with bad companies that give them bad advices to do things that would make them suppress the feelings of feeling some type of way, in quotes.
Okay, one thing I need, if you can just clarify a little bit
Yeah.
more. During the time that you were going through the rough time,
Mm-hmm.
did you at any time feel disconnected from people around you?
Yes.
And what did you do at that time? What were the things that made you feel disconnected?
Okay. So initially, I'm gonna keep it 100%. It was really difficult because I just felt like people around me didn't understand, and they didn't understand. So for example, when I was struggling to eat, I didn't like people shouting at me to tell me to eat, because I feel like I wanted to eat, but if I ate, it just felt like the food wouldn't even go down, it's gonna come back up. So I'm not gonna want to eat naturally. So like, just things like that made me feel really disconnected. But when I started to feel connected, was nothing I did, was what people did. Was when people started to show me, okay, I actually understand that, it's not your fault. I actually understand that this is really difficult for you. I actually understand what you're going through. Like, okay, I understand now. I'm here to support you. Don't worry, it's gonna be fine. Do you see what I mean? So it wasn't what I did particularly, because I couldn't really do much other than trying to make you understand that, okay, this is what I'm going through. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I'm tired. But that's why it's very important, especially for parents, to really like know how to come across to the children when they're going through stuff. And this is not even just mental health, maybe even just struggling with like in school or a course or something, like the way you approach it is actually very important, literally very, very important, especially in this age of social media where, you know, people meet people, and, you know, if you're feeling like you're not giving them the attention, or you're not being the parents they want, then they go to they look elsewhere. This does not come in like in anything like when you're disciplining your child or anything, but just letting them know that you're there for them. This doesn't mean like they should disrespect you, or do you see what I mean? Like, you can train your child, you can be strict, but still let them know that they have your love and support no matter what.
Okay. One more thing before we go. You've spoken a lot today. You spoke about, let me just recap a little bit, maybe if I miss anything, because on live we kept going on and off on Facebook. I don't know what happened with the connection. So I think at the end of the program, I'm going to post the whole thing on the Facebook timeline. We've spoken about, you know, accepting, you know, facing up to whatever it is that you are dealing with, and also seeking for help, and which is very, very important, seeking for the right help. You mentioned support system, support from family, from friends, and also I think from your church community as well. You also mentioned about self-love, self-care, and the fact that you must be willing to do what it requires to get better. So what will you say to young people that, you know, sometimes they go through situations, they want to talk, but they are afraid to talk?
Okay.
They want to talk, but they are actually afraid to talk. What will you say? What advice will you give to them for them to be able to overcome that hurdle? Because now you have a lot of people going through stuff, especially during this time. Sometimes, just as we have said, some find it difficult to talk to their parents, but they still have other people around them that they feel they want to talk to, but they are afraid to talk.
So I would say, like, confront the fear, in the sense that the fact that you want to talk shows that you know that talking might help, but you might be scared. And that is totally acceptable. But the way I like to look at it is, identifying a need for change is not enough. It's what you do with the change. So you feel like you're going through something and you can't take it anymore. You need to talk, you need to do something about it. But keeping quiet, you just need to come to the realization and tell yourself the bitter truth that it's not going to be easy, but you just need to do something. Because I gave you my example. With me, I'm not someone that is a natural, oh my God, I'm going through this, what do you think? It's usually the other way around with me. But when I got to the point where I had to talk, I just had to confront it and talk, because I'm someone that naturally, I like to solve my problems by myself. But now I've realized that if you can't solve a problem by yourself, you need to talk. It's for your own good. And that's why I say, find someone that you trust. You know, even if you feel like you don't trust anybody at the moment, which is where this gets difficult, because like in England, for example, you have like professional healthcare and like all this, like is it called Good Samaritan or something, where you can call someone and speak to for advice, and it's 100% confidential. So which is why we need more mental health things in Nigeria, in other African countries, so that people actually feel like, you know, they can seek help, they can get their voices heard in confidence. But if you're going through something, I'm sure that there's somebody that loves you enough to listen. So just figure out who that person is. Don't hold things in, especially in this COVID season where, you know, it's a pandemic, it's affecting everyone globally. We don't even know when it's gonna end. Like, find someone that you feel like you can trust, even if it means like initially you don't feel like you can tell them the whole situation at once, because you feel like they might tell your business or whatever. Maybe test the waters out. Maybe like try telling them something, try lifting up one of your burdens and see how they come with that. Maybe if you need to take a break, and maybe in another couple of days, go back to talk to them. But just do something. Honestly, don't keep your burden in, because it doesn't help. It really doesn't help. Like, just do something. There must be someone who loves you enough to want to listen to you. And this is another thing that I want to say to people. when someone trusts you enough to tell you their business, please don't go around telling people their businesses. If people trust you enough to like confide in you or seek your support, give them a good advice. If you don't know any good advice to tell them, let them know or direct them to someone that you think they can help, that can help them. Don't, especially when people come to you, they might be vulnerable. So don't give awful advices. And when people confide in you, please do not tell their businesses, because a lot of the time that is what people are scared of, that, oh, they're going to start telling everybody, oh, that this is happening. So please.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more thing.
Yeah.
You said earlier on, oh, now I just missed my thought. I wanted to pick up on something that you said about that's it. I remember now.
Mm-hmm.
When what role did will you say understanding the love of God helped, what role did it play in you being able to navigate your path out of those stormy water?
Yeah. So I think for me, it was really realizing that God knew that life was never supposed to be easy. So like initially there were times where like I would plan, okay, maybe I'll pray at 12, and 12 comes and I'm not doing anything, but I just can't find the strength. Like I just can't pray. But it's just knowing that God loves us so much that he just wants us to come as we are. So, and I feel like when you read the Bible and you really understand that life was never supposed to be easy, because if life was easy, our faith wouldn't be built, our faith wouldn't be tested, we probably wouldn't progress in life, because life would just be like a standstill. If you think about it, people go to school and progress and get a job just to keep becoming better people as long as they live. So for me, it was really just holding on that God, I don't understand what's going on, but I would just trust it, because that is what faith is. It's literally like nothing is making sense, but I'm just pulling through. Like I'm just like, taking the back seat and allowing you do your thing, and I'm just following you, and it's worth it. Because for me, my spirituality has grown a lot, because like this is no longer about mommy or daddy telling me, oh, have faith or whatever. This is something that I've now tested and tried for myself.
Okay, all right, let me just recap.
Yeah.
Because of people that just joined online, um few things that you said this evening. First thing is you accept, acknowledge that you have a challenge. There's something is going on, and you need the fact that you accept it doesn't mean that you are accepting defeat.
Yeah. So you're not surrendering it. You're not surrendering to it. You're accepting it to defeat the situation.
To defeat the situation. Then the second thing is to seek help.
Yeah.
If there is any need for it,
yeah.
Seek help, speak to a professional. If whatever form of help that is available around you,
yeah.
speak out. Don't keep quiet.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I've noticed is getting people to understand where you are at. And I think you mentioned that earlier. Sometimes what affects somebody's level of, their threshold level might be different, from another person. Yeah, now I remember the question I wanted to ask. How were you able to navigate your path through people misjudging you, misjudging your journey? That's it. That's the word.
Again,
judging your journey.
So again, it goes back to what I said, that understanding that people's reality wasn't my reality. So that works in both ways, in the terms that if you are someone looking after someone with a mental health challenge, you need to understand that what your reality is might not be the reality, like in the way you're thinking. And I also had to accept that, there is mental health stigma. So, and that's where I literally blocked my ears. Like I didn't care what anybody had to say. For me, this was my journey. I wanted to get better, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. So it was me accepting that I don't even understand everything with mental health in terms of how it works. It's just crazy. It's just surprising the way your mental health, your mind, everything is connected. So if I don't understand everything, how am I supposed to expect people who are not even in the situation to understand it as well? So it's just me, again, staying in my own lane and just facing my journey, because people always talk, and it's not even just mental health. Like, you can't please people. Like, that's just life. So people have varying beliefs and principles and whatever. So when you're going through the journey of life, especially when you want to practice self-love, you need to practice doing what you think is right to do. So for example, if you're someone who believes in God, focusing on what you think God wants you to do and what else your personal development as opposed to what other people want you to do, or doing things that, when you start doing things because you think X will think this, Y, then that's just out of the picture. So it's just like being focused.
Okay, so it's like, I like the way you use those words. Just tune, your ears out to,
Yeah.
So have you ever felt, at any point being stigmatized?
Not really, actually. I don't know if it's because I'm in England or the fact that many people didn't know my journey. The people that I've come across with, they've actually been really like supportive. Like, I guess sometimes when we're talking about it, people don't understand, but they're just like, oh, so do you get? But like, I haven't experienced any stigma. I think one of the biggest support I even got was from my work, because I was on probation at the time, and I thought, oh my God, what if I lose my job, blah, blah, blah. But it even got to the stage that I didn't care about the job again. I was like, you know what, it's only the living that can work. If he wants to go, he should go. But I'm still in that same job now. They were so supportive. They were like, oh, is there anything we can do to help? Oh, do you feel like we're not providing you support? So I actually was lucky to get a lot of support, and I'm blessed for that. I'm really thankful. So I didn't in any way feel like, oh, people were like discriminating against me or anything. Every battle I fought, I think, was within myself to actually just get better and live a normal life. So I didn't face stigma, thankfully, but that might not be the case for everyone, especially in Africa. And I had the support. Not everyone might have the support in Africa. So that's where the problem is, and that's why I'm so happy with all the plans I have. And I also know a lot of people who are now really starting to do stuff for mental health, so that people can actually be aware of these things and start seeking help.
Okay, so let's talk about, before we go, let's talk about Bring It Home Foundation.
Yeah.
What is Bring It Home Foundation about? I know I asked earlier, but I think we lost our connection online.
Yeah.
What is Bring It Home Foundation about?
So my aim is to literally bring home, as into Africa, mental health and how people can really seek help. And so one of the things I'm actually doing at the moment with Bring It Home Foundation is offering people who need it to 3 free counseling sessions with a counselor who actually helped me, so that they can taste what it's like to receive counseling from a professional point of view. And if that's something that they want to go on with, they can go on with it. But my primary assignment on that is literally spreading the word, and like literally sharing my experience and giving out free books, and like just going to hold conferences starting from Nigerian schools to let people know that everyone's got a mental health. Even if you don't have a mental health challenge, you need to look after your mental health. So for example, with exercise, government say, oh, you're allowed to go out for exercise, for a walk or a run. You don't have to have a mental health challenge, but it's just nice, to get some exercise, to get your heart beating, to get your blood flowing, just as a good routine. So it's that kind of thing I'm trying to really, really raise awareness, because what I went through was really horrible. I didn't know if I would ever get through it or when I'll get through it. So if I could prevent people from getting to the stage I got to without seeking help, before seeking help, that will get me, that will make me really happy, that people don't have to wait until they get to a very bad stage, and people don't have to keep feeling like shy or they're alone, because I've actually been through this journey.
Okay, it's really been nice talking to you. It's like, I've learned over the years that you can't really talk about, living a healthy life if you neglect your mental state. Health is both physiological and psychological as well. So it's both spirit, is all, it's all encompassing, spirit and body. And it's possible for you to, to be okay physically, but in other areas you are not okay. And so when I heard about your story, I was very thrilled, and I thought, well, this week it'd be good to bring it out for young people, because now you are having this thing on the increase among young people, and you can see somebody that has gone through it and has crossed to the other side. So it's like the way I see mental health challenge is just when you have a physical challenge, a medical problem, and you go to see the doctor, and they give you medications, and they tell you, you take it 3 times a day, and you do this, and you follow it with the belief that, you will get well. I feel the same approach, the same freedom that, people have. That's really my own passion. The same freedom that people have to talk about physical, ailment should be the same freedom people have being able to talk about their mental challenge without being called names, without being stigmatized, without having to, to talk, quietly so that nobody knows, what they are going through. So I'm grateful to God that you are able to come out. I like your courage, your boldness, that you're able to come out with your story, and you're able to share and also to encourage other people. So thanks so much for being part of this discussion. And I pray that God helps you to accomplish all the things that He has put, on your heart, especially for young people in Nigeria. Thank you so much. It's good to have you. All right. Okay. All right. Then, okay. For those online listening to us, I know that there was a hitch along the line. We lost connection. So I'm going to post the whole interview back on the timeline. All right. So thank you so much. All right then. Bye. Bye. Bye.